what would you deem of what success is?
I think success is like all areas of your life. So to say that money is not a huge part of it would be completely wrong.
If I like something, I'll pull the trigger, and I've failed with several businesses because I've jumped into them too quick.
Seeing the edge of the earth that most won't get to see, just adventure and seeing the world, like that to me is success. I didn't believe this guy. And the problem is...
Today I'm joined with Gary Wilson and Craig Campbell.
Hello.
And we're talking about the abundance mindset. Good having you both.
Love it. Excited, man. Thanks for having me.
I'm going to jump straight in. Gary, you've got aspirations to hit 1 billion.
Yeah.
That's a big, big, big goal.
Yeah.
Last night I stopped at your house, little council flat in Glasgow. And on the wall in the room, it said, the harder the work, the luckier you become. So can you expand a little bit on that?
Yeah. I've got Monopoly art or like money art all over my house. So that's probably one of my favorite senses. I do believe that, like, fundamentally, like, people who do well, they just are better at spotting opportunities. Everyone, like, I've seen so many people that have had the best opportunities in front of them and failed at it. Owning a sales company, like, I literally see that every single day because there's guys in the room that kill it, do amazing things with their lives, and there's guys with the exact same inputs, exact same stuff given to them that don't get that same output in their life. So it's like, how often are you rolling the dice? How often are you actually putting 200% into everything you're doing? I think it's one of the most fundamentally flawed mindsets for most people, is that they just don't understand that, and they don't understand it's like, I'm just going to keep rolling the dice till something hits, till I get something to work.
Next question. Obviously, I've made you your first million personally. And
Craig might argue with that.
Craig introduced me to you.
Yeah.
So you owe Craig a lot of money.
I would say both of you, to be honest, if I want to keep it real. Like, no, I mean that, like I say all the time, like, you guys were literally the two people that got me a kickstart at the start, and I'm not afraid to say that. It's like, it was so true. Met Craig up in Glasgow, he invited me to Brighton SEO, and I remember you sitting there talking about this big link building strategy you were doing on one of your sites, and I'm like, I don't like what you're fucking doing with that. And then you got me to an audit, and I was doing like a little, like, all these little Loom videos I sent you. I was sending you all these Loom videos, and then you were one of the first people to ever buy backlinks off me, and then it kind of spiraled from there. I went to one of your masterminds, I think, but it was off the back of Craig introduced me to you, and then that was where I got the whole kick off.
I want to jump a little bit over to you, Craig, with regards to the abundance mindset, right? So, very first time I met you, obviously you came down we had a mastermind in my office.
Yep.
And it was a great time. Poured a lot of champagne down your throat. And you didn't come back home for an extra 2 days because you was that rough.
I had to stay overnight. I was staying overnight. This is the hangover. I had to stay over again. It was that bad, just to be clear.
So, but after that, you came down 2 weeks later. I didn't have a clue. I thought you'd upsold me like a kipper. She's like, oh, no problem, mate. I'll come down. And I was like, I've not discussed any prices. Like, I don't know what his day rate is for consultancy. And you do training for a lot of businesses. And there's a lot of people that I know within the UK especially that I'm close friends with that you've trained up the team and they've absolutely skyrocketed and done amazing, right? I think you've got this kind of tough persona that people think about you, but you've got a very, very, very soft inside that you do help a lot of people. So I think there was a scenario I spoke about. Maybe it's the wrong word saying you dragged homeless people off the streets and employed them and stuff, but you seem to have a soft spot for a lot of people to help people. Where's that abundance mindset come from? Because you came down and you trained my team, and that kind of kickstarted us and definitely saved us a couple of years. Like, there were certain elements, certain tools, Ghost Browser, multi-login, Mass Planner, LinkedIn Helper. We had a lot of different sites. We had a lot of social media accounts that you came in. They're only small little bits of knowledge bombs that you came with that I had no clue about, that the team integrated, and it saved us a lot of years. But my question to you is, you just came down on the back of it. And you didn't know me that well. Obviously, we'd had that good night out. Yeah. But completely for free, no money, changing hands. Is it like that you give out and you get back, or is it the abundance mindset of just helping others? Like, where's that come from?
I think I like to help others anyway. Even, with the likes of Gary and stuff, you see a young guy trying to make his way in the world, and you're like, nah, come here, do that. I think I'm always quite helpful. You don't always get success stories. You get people who leech off you and stuff like that as well. So it can be quite a difficult thing. But I think naturally, I just like to try and see people do well, and if I can help them with whether it's a coming down for a day or whatever, I think it swings and roundabouts. People will help you back, and I've had help, from you. You got me at Chiang Mai, and hopefully along the way we've helped each other in other instances along the way. And I think that's the way it should be. It doesn't always have to be about cash transactions. It's all about who you know as well, and I think that's something I learned very early on in business. It's not what you know, it's who you know in a lot of cases. And I think if I've got something I can give, I think in 9 times out of 10 with other like-minded people, you'll get something back, whether it's in a year, whether it's in 5 years. I don't know. I'm still waiting on a beer from Gary, but I'm hopeful that at some point I'll get something. But I think naturally that's just the way I am, and I think you guys are like that as well. It's just that natural thing. You're not doing it to I don't need to get a grand out of you or whatever it may be. Like, I can get that from one of the other businesses I've got. So, I think there comes a time where you're trying to build relationships with other people and see where it goes. And if you have a good night out and you go, these are good lads, why not fucking help them?
It is strange. It is strange, and it's not normal, is it? Like, there's so many other industries that I'm in outside of the SEO industry, and they're not the same. Like, they don't they see competition and they're like, oh, I can't speak to him. And our industry is like elevate each other and help each other out. 1 + 1 = 3, and synergy. If you combine forces, you get a force that's even bigger and better than what you could ever have imagined. But that just seems, and to be fair, there's certain people within the SEO community that's dog eat dog.
Yeah.
But it seems to be that we've managed to kind of put this group together that actually we've never changed. I mean, we buy a lot of drinks because you don't go, you're one of the last to go to, you and Carlton are one of the last to go to the bar, right? But no, but on a serious note, it's been an absolute pleasure in how well connected and how we have helped each other along the entrepreneurial journey to elevate each other. Because sometimes you have Christmas dinner with the family, or you go and speaking to friends that you went to school with, and they can't resonate and speak on the level that sometimes we might be wanting to speak on. Of like, from Lee, if I said, oh, I want to be a millionaire, you get laughed at. And I'm sat there opposite a guy that's saying, a million, I don't want a million, I want a billion.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And it's like, so then it kicks you on. If you're thinking you're doing well in business, it's like, well, if I had aspirations for 20 million, I want 30 million, I want 40 million. No, money's the byproduct, in my opinion. That's nothing to do with what success is, but it's a credit. But on that note, what is success to you? Is it how much money's in the bank? What would you deem of what success is?
I think success is like all areas of your life. So to say that money is not a huge part of it would be completely wrong. Money gives you freedom to do good things, but I feel like money fuels the way you are as a person. So if you're a really miserable, depressed person and you have a lot of money, you're probably the type of person that will spend all that money on drugs, or you'll spend all that money on being more miserable and depressed. So it just accelerates you as a person. To me, success is relationships with people, genuine good experiences in life. It's working on really cool things with really cool people, seeing the edge of the earth that most won't get to see, just adventure and seeing the world. That to me is success. And
I love that saying, seeing the edge of the world that others won't get to see.
Yeah, it's just
what a great saying that is.
It's just that I think when you get to a headspace that the world is so abundant, and when you actually understand what's out there and what you could do, what the world has to offer, I think that is the most addictive part of life. And to me, money plays into being able to do all of that stuff. Do you know, if you want to go and stay in the Burj Al Arab like most people won't get to sleep in that hotel, but they bring you out 12 pillows to try on, you know, and it's such a silly little thing, but it's something that you can sit here and like smile about. Like I think about a lot of the trips that we've done, the places we've been, the crazy trips to Thailand, just all the mad stuff, and it's like that to me is like genuine joy and happiness. It's those little moments, that little week where you get away and you just get away from it all and just you're with really cool people in a cool place. So that's success, and that's the true epitome of happiness to me. I think there's a lot of people with a lot of money that are not successful people. I think they completely fail at life because they just don't have that joy, don't have those relationships. They just chase money for like nothing. There's nothing you're going to do with it. You know, money needs to be spent and used and actually utilized in the world to actually be a useful, successful thing.
What's your thoughts? What is success?
I think pretty much what Gary says. I think, you know, it's hard when you start out, you want to make as much money as you possibly can. But as you get older, as you have kids like you do, which we'll come to in a moment, you know, it's been able to go on holiday, spend time with them. You know, I'm just back from a week in Portugal, just having a lazy week with the family. A week before that, I was in La Manga, you know, having fun with my friends. And I think being able to do all of these things is success for me. I don't need to be a billionaire, you know, as long as I'm making money and I've got the fun times, or even going up like you know, out in the boat yesterday, or having dinner, or just having a chat, you know, all of these things are success to me. And obviously I've had a few health scares in recent months. You know, I got diabetes, which I have reversed, and kidney stone and stuff. So I think obviously looking after your health and stuff like that is obviously success as well. And I think for many years I drunk a lot and partied a lot and tried to live life in the fast lane and never had so much family holidays and time with people that actually you just have a laugh with. And I think that for me is success. And I think, like Gary says, you need money to be able to do all of that. But, you know, I don't sit there at night thinking, and I've actually canned 4 or 5 businesses in the last year because I just didn't have the right time or the time to apply to them. So I could have went on and made more money and chased that money, but was it going to further impact my health or fun times and everything else? And I think that's what you have to sit back and have a look at. So I think just getting the balance right is important for me.
I think the biggest part for me, I think success is happiness. That's what, in my opinion. And when you then start understanding what is happiness, because there's people that might have everything in life and not be happy. Yeah. They might have a beautiful wife. They might have amazing kids. They might have 100 million in the bank and still not be happy. So then when you start looking at that and going, well, what is happiness? And you start to realise it's like expectation versus reality.
Yes.
And the delta between that is what happiness is. Mm-hmm. So if you can start lowering expectation of things in life, you're going to be more happy as a person.
Yeah.
And when I started to understand that and I started to realise that I had a few interesting conversations with the wife, and she was like, why? Why are you doing all this? Like, you're doing all this travelling to network with people. You've got all these different brands and different businesses and that you've scaled out. Why? And it was a great question. And I remember being sat there thinking to myself, why? To myself, why? And then I started to realise, and we discussed this, it was this morning actually over a coffee, and when I push the boundaries and I'm outside my comfort zone, and I keep pushing myself outside my comfort zone, I put this pressure on myself that, like an elastic band, and the only way I can explain it is I want my elastic band to be really, really stretched to the point where I go, I need a holiday. And then when I go away and I go to Chiang Mai or I go and do things, that holiday then is, and because I need it, is happiness.
Yeah.
And I feel like if I retired tomorrow, someone says £1 billion, you can retire tomorrow, and I go out every night and I get prawns for starters and steak or lobster every night, and I went and got on it.
Could do that anyway.
Right? Yeah. But like, if I went and did that every single night and partied every single night, I reckon after a week, I'd be really bored of doing that.
Yeah.
And like, I don't want that all the time. Sometimes I want to go home and have beans on toast.
Yeah.
Peanut butter on toast with a banana or something. Do you know what I mean? Like, sometimes I want the basic things in life. I don't want to have that all the time. And I think when I start to understand that, I actually put pressure on myself to want to grow. Because then it means I can appreciate Burj Al Arab or go into nice luxury places, see the edges of the world that people can't see, as Gary puts it.
Yeah.
To go to these really nice places, but I've pushed myself that hard that I'm ready for a break. Mm-hmm. And that break becomes so much more fun and enjoyable.
Yeah.
And I think that is a big part of it. And I think that sometimes you only realise that when you are sat around other entrepreneurs.
Yeah.
And you're understanding what they're... Because you speak to some people and it would be, what's your idea of success? Having £1 million in the bank.
Yeah.
Is their idea of success? And you're like, good luck to you, mate. Yeah. Because you're not going to be happy if you do get there. You're going to climb that mountain, and once you get to the top of that mountain and you think you've reached your goal, you're not going to be happy.
Yeah. It's like, to add one more thing as well, like at the moment my granddad, he's in hospital, really ill, and literally last week my mum's over in Spain just now with him, and he was talking about like all of the things that he regretted and all the past mistakes he made, the people he'd fallen out with, that he was never able to repair that relationship, and he's sitting there now and he's like dying of cancer, and it's like, sorry to be like super morbid for a second, but it's like, to me, I think what really I think about a lot is like, you're talking about like pulling that elastic all the time and really pushing. It's like, what will I not regret when I'm there? Because see, at the end of the day, there's no amount of money, there's nothing else that matters to him now, sitting there in that moment, than everything that's happened in the past. And I think if you look at life in the sense of like sitting in that shoe where you can't do the things that you could do today, it's like, will you be happy that you took the easy path, that you did the easy, nice, fun things and didn't push harder and didn't really go for this thing that was a dream when you were younger? Like, are you going to be happy that you took the easy path at 73? Do you know what I mean?
So, and that's a great one for me to come on to now, because taking the easy path is the easy option and what majority of people seem to do, and the 1% don't. They take the hard path.
Yes.
But let's talk a little bit about taking the hard path. And obviously you had a large brand that you was building out with an SEO agency, and there was a lot of pressure on it. There was a lot of staff you'd built out, probably too big than what you wanted to kind of build out to. And then you brained it back in. You was like, do you know what? This isn't for me. So sometimes he's taking the easy path, but sometimes he's taking a path that's just like, do you know what? At what expense do I do it for?
Right.
I'm not going on my holidays. Like, health is wealth. I'm deteriorating in health, for what?
Yeah.
So I think there is that kind of, how far do you stretch it before? I don't know if you can touch on a little bit with regards to what constraints you had, where you're pushing really hard and then you got to a point where it was just like, this is not fun.
No, I was in that exact place, but I think it also comes from, being a young guy. I was young at the time. I know people say you're fucking not a young guy, but I was young at the time when I had the agency, and the ego was there. I wasn't a businessman. I was just flung into this situation where I was in charge of all these people, and going on holiday, I used to run down to the reception to get proper Wi-Fi and email all the people what they were going to be doing that day and all that kind of stuff. I wasn't even able to have a fucking holiday in peace and quiet. And you do say, at one point, why am I doing this? And is it to tell your mates down the pub that you've got X amount of staff in a big fancy office? I used to literally sit shit in my pants that someone wasn't going to pay their invoice because the whole thing would have collapsed. And I think the ego at the start of and we've all had an ego, you're just not willing to tell, not willing to delegate and stuff like that as well. I'd built myself into the business. I wasn't working on it. I was fucking surrounded. Every piece of content had to go through me. All the sales went through me. All the invoicing went through me. And there's only so far you can go with that particular model before the wheels start falling off. And, one day I went to the doctor and I'm like, I don't feel good. I feel dizzy. And I remember waking up and I felt all dizzy. And we're not waking up, stood up in the office and I felt all dizzy and shit. And the doctor's like, if you got money problems, nah. Have you got, marital problems, nah. And he asked me what I'd done for a living. And I told him. They went, that'll kill you. He said, you've got anxiety. I had anxiety, had to get medication and all that for it. I just couldn't switch off. I burnt myself out, and at that point you're like, why am I doing this? I am burnt. I physically can't be arsed working anymore. And that's where you decide to change things and obviously become more of a businessman, because I ended up, liquidating that company and starting afresh. And, it was about making profit and having time and delegation and everything I'd learned the hard way. So a lot of the stuff that I now teach was because I fucked it all up myself. There was no systems, there wasn't SOPs really at that time either. I was just kind of finding my feet. And again, you guys have probably been in those shoes as well, where it's really stressful.
Yeah. With regards to mistakes that you see, right? So we sat here, we've all got successful businesses, we've done really well for each other. We've all grown multiple brands. What mistakes do you see others making that's not in our circle? Because obviously if they're in our circle, we could put the arm around them and say, stop doing this. Or like mistakes maybe that we've made previously as well. But what mistakes do you feel people make?
I was actually having a conversation with my team about this last week. I'm like, we had a chat in the morning and we were all talking about their goals and like their big, like, why are they doing what they're doing? Why are they so driven? What's it for? And one of the things I said was pick your goals wisely, because there was so many people in that room that made all these crazy goals that were goals of grandeur. And I looked at the character of the person. And like, there was one guy in particular that said, I'm going to build the biggest clothing brand in Scotland, right? 19 years old, just into sales. And he's going to build the biggest clothing brand in Scotland and be a salesman, right? Now, I am all for pushing people up. I love it when somebody sits in front of my face and says to me they're going to do that, and I believe them. I didn't believe this guy. And the problem is that people set goals that are far too ahead, and they never hit any goals, and then they never achieve anything. Yeah. And they become, like, confidence is built from actually achieving stuff.
Yeah.
And like proving to yourself that you can do what you say you're going to do. If you say you're going to do something and then you don't hit it, it's like you're done. But if you sit and say, I'm going to be the biggest clothing brand in Scotland, and you're 19 years old with no money and you're in sales, you're a failure from the minute you started, right? So it's like, I think people need to be really, really smart and like be willing to take baby steps and actually accept the fact. Like, that's one thing that I would say all of us really have, is that true humbleness, where like you can actually look at yourself and say, do you know what? I'm not very good at this. This is what I'm good at. This is not what I'm good at. And I'm going to find people, or I'm going to find the skills to actually get better at this thing.
Yeah.
Instead of just delusionally assuming that you can take on the world when actually you can't. And that's where somebody like us, when we say we're going to do something, generally speaking, we go and hit it and we do it, because we understand the depth and intensity of that goal and what's required to hit that milestone.
See, I think another one on that, just expanding slightly on it. If you set yourself mini goals that are achievable, that you can hit, if you then go and get those goals and you hit those goals and you celebrate those goals,
yes,
that's happiness.
Correct.
That you're getting a dopamine kick from hitting the goal. Those little mini wins, done. Dopamine kick, dopamine kick, dopamine kick. You go out, celebrate it. People are like, oh, well done, high five. You're getting serotonin.
Yes.
All the brain chemicals is happiness.
Yes.
So it's very, very important, the mini goals that you kind of are achievable to hit for you to 100%. Get there. What would you say if there's anything? Like, I'll throw one or two out there. We can maybe just throw, like, one, in my opinion, is procrastination, paralysis analysis. Yeah. People overthinking things, having this perfect idea.
Big thing in SEO
just
as
go
well.
And get something started.
Yeah.
Like, you can change. Like I always say, like within SEO, you've got a really, really important button that you might not know. It's called edit. If it's not right first time, you can go in and edit it. Yeah. That's fine. Do you know what I mean? If you get the wrong domain, you can 301 it. Everything's reversible.
Yes.
Do you know what I mean? So don't procrastinate and start. And once you start, you'll learn a lot of other things.
Definitely.
From there.
I think my impulsiveness is probably what's taken me so far. I'm not a guy that thinks, like, even we spoke last night about the links for you domain name. If I like something, I'll fucking pull the trigger. And I've failed with several businesses because I've jumped into them too quick as well, and it's just not been the right niche or whatever it may be. But again, I'm an impulsive guy, and I think that takes me it sets me apart from probably 90% of other people there, where I'm willing to give it a shot. And yeah, I've looked back and, you know, fucking kicked myself a million times going, you fucking bastard, what are you doing? But, you know, I think that's a thing I wouldn't like to change about myself, is just going and taking action, even if it's shit.
I think the big thing with that, Craig, is to do something like that, to be impulsive on the opposite side to it. Too many people are scared of failure.
Yes.
Your impulsiveness, right?
It's confidence.
You failed a lot of times. It's something that you'll jump into, but you'll go, that's not failing, it's learning.
Yeah.
You win or you learn. There's no such thing as losing our vocabulary. Do you know what I mean? Like, you win or you learn, you develop, you kick on from it, you learn something from that. If it is a mistake, from that mistake, and that's a mistake in itself in not wanting to fail. Failing's good.
Yeah.
I think another couple of P's, I always call it the 3 P's. So I said procrastination, perfectionist, kind of falls in the same remit of procrastination. A lot of people procrastinate because they're a perfectionist, or they spend too long on something that doesn't really matter.
Yeah.
Like the whole scenario, Cal Roof kind of saying of, you don't need to be faster than the bear. You just need to be faster than the other people running away from the bear to get away from the bear. Do you know what I mean? So, like, you just need to do enough to win the game. You just need to do enough to be in what me and you do with SEO. You just need to do enough to be position number 1.
Yeah.
Like, you can't get any higher than position number 1.
No.
You just need to be enough to beat your competition to win that order.
Yes.
Do you get what I mean? Like, stop chasing perfection.
Yeah.
Always look to improve upon your systems and processes. And then the other biggest one, I'd probably say it's the biggest out of the 3 Ps that people struggle with, is prioritization. I think a lot of people get FOMO in a massive way, and they're like, oh, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that, I'm going to do this, and they're not prioritizing actually, 1, where they make the money, and 2, what makes them happy.
Yeah.
And I think too many people on prioritisation, they don't sit down. They should do, and they should sit down at the start of each day or the start of each week and go, what's the most important things I need to tick off?
I have a midlife crisis almost every week. Like, I take my goals and, like, genuinely, like, it's crazy. Like, I'll go through goals and, like, analyse everything. I'm like, am I on the right track? Am I working on the right things? Like, what are the big why goals here that I'm focused on? It's like I'm never going to have regrets from doing that all the time. And it's like that keeps you on a straight line for, like, hitting the end goal, which is what truly matters.
What's your thoughts on stress and pressure? Like, do you embrace it? Like, I'll ask you that first, because I think you've got a ridiculous threshold, and I think you thrive on stressful.
I mean,
times.
I'm kind of sick in a way, and it's like I kind of love it. So I actually chase the pressure and stress. Like, I could be sitting at a time where, like, things are going great and, like, making tons of money, everything's running smoothly, and I'll be like, right, I need to cause havoc somewhere. Like, there's going to need to be a department, sack half of the people in it. Like, something just needs to happen here. Like, it's just not exciting. For me, like, the whole chasing pain and chasing pressure is the way you grow. That's, to me, I will thrive and run into that all the time. I just see myself as like a furnace that with every single more crazy bit of pressure I can put on, I build another layer of metal to make myself stronger, to be able to handle that pressure. And it'll get to the point where, like, you're able to handle the most unimaginable amounts of pressure and it feels like nothing. And that's kind of where I feel like is the winning place. So I think pressure is like chase the most painful things. Like, I almost say, you were talking earlier about happiness. Like, I almost, like, the problem with that is, like, chasing pain and pressure is like, it doesn't really make you happy in the moment. Right, I can almost say I would optimize for fulfillment than happiness, because a lot of the stuff that you do is very hard. It's actually very difficult. Like, having to sack someone, or having to, like, have a tough conversation with someone and tell them that, look, you're not showing up the way you should be. Like, that's not a nice, enjoyable thing for anyone to do, especially when you are at heart a kind, giving person. But it's the right thing to do by that person. And you understand that, but it's not happiness at the time.
True, but I feel like life is a roller coaster, and I think you have to have the pain in your life to experience happiness.
I would say my happiness is euphoric. Like, I would.
Exactly.
It's like going away on what some of these trips we're talking about. Like, to me, I'll probably feel the extent of how great that is, like 20 times more than an average Joe that goes on that holiday. Because for me, like, I've been in such a tough environment. So that opposing place feels like the most amazing
exactly
thing
like
in the
you
world.
said, the ends of the world, right?
Yes.
So where certain people live their life and it's like happiness, unhappiness, happiness, unhappiness, happiness, unhappiness, and it's like this. You're pretty much like this.
I'm like a wave.
So your happiness is like on highs that are like, oh, I've needed this. You're not saying you're unhappiness, but sometimes the
Pressure,
stress, like, the
pressure, difficulty,
like even when I was in the office today and you went in and you was like a fucking bull in a china shop, you was just causing havoc.
Yeah.
And it was like, and then your office manager had to pull you out to go, come on, have a coffee. Do you know what I mean? It was like, he needs to calm down.
Yeah.
But that pressure that you put on yourself, but I do feel that pressure you put on yourself
it passes through, mate.
It's euphoric
and it's euphoric as well. It passes through euphoric, like, it's infectious.
But again, that's very, very, very unusual. That is an extremist type of personality trait.
Yeah.
What's your thoughts on stress and pressure? And
I think most human beings thrive on a bit of pressure and a bit of stress. I think people naturally perform better or whatever under some form of stress. I wouldn't say I'm as extreme as Gary. You know, I don't want to fucking invite that shit and enjoy it or anything like that. You know, I'm not. I'm not sick in the head. But I think I'd like to think. I think having the balance of it is important. I think if you can become set in your ways if there is no pressure. And I think we spoke about it last night. That Dan Pena would go in and fire his top sales guy just to
show the rest of them,
that their jobs are not safe and things like that. And I think human beings do. Thrive under a bit of pressure naturally. So I think it's good to have it and keep people on their toes and all that kind of stuff. Do I like being under pressure? Yeah, I think I perform better under pressure as well. It's why I always do my slideshows late. I just do them better when I just fucking boom, boom, boom. I know the person's saying, Craig, you're talking tomorrow, give me my fucking slides today. I perform better with that. Whereas if I'm sitting and I've got 3 weeks, I'm like, my mind's not coming up with ideas and stuff. So, I think I do thrive under pressure, but it is what it is. You're going to get pressure and stress in business anyway, and I definitely think it's a good thing, but not quite to the point where I thrive on it. I'd rather avoid it if I could, but difficult conversations you have to have, and I'm not scared to have them, so I'm probably...
You're talking like you're a wee Cam Saint here. I mean, let's keep it real.
A few quick fire questions. We've got a few minutes left on it. So, what has been the most challenging part of your entrepreneurial journey? I suppose for you, if you actually chose someone that said that's the most challenging, with what you've just been saying is you want it to always be the most challenging.
Yeah.
Like, do you know what I mean? Like next week you want to have another crazy
I've not always been this strong, mate. I mean, like in the early days, just before I knew you guys, this was actually right before I met you, Craig, and like things kicked off. Like, I was like grossly overweight. I was sleeping in really late every day. Like I had so much belief. And I remember like when I first started doing SEO, this is how I became really good at it. I'd been doing it for like 2 or 3 years. I had an agency. I didn't know how to sell or anything at this time. I'd basically burnt through 20 grand of my dad's inheritance money at like 19, 20 years old. And I remember I was in bed. I'd slept in till like 2 o'clock. My mum had come home from work and she had a conversation with me about getting a job. And I remember at the time, like the anger and the frustration, I absolutely hated her at the time. Because at that time, I had all this belief, but it was so difficult. Like, I genuinely understand what hard work looks like, because I was like putting so much pressure on myself at that time to try and make it work, and like nothing was. By this time I'd 3 failed businesses. I had a fashion store. I think we've all done one of those at some point. I had a fashion store. I had an agency. I had all these lead gen sites. I had all these stupid businesses that I had no clue how to run any of them, no understanding what I was doing, no good mentors that could lead me in any direction to understand what to do next. And I was truly lost, and that was breaking at the time. So I think that moment was like the hardest of all, but there was something in me at that time that when that happened, that I actually took responsibility after what she said, and I didn't become a victim. And I decided I'm going to just go and get this. And it was very shortly after that I'd started to do a couple of things. I ranked for SEO Glasgow, and that was actually how I ended up meeting you. So it's like I never knew where it was going to end up, but I had the right mindset and the right attitude around where I was, and I took responsibility for the fact that, you know what, sleeping into 2 o'clock is acting like a flipping fool when you're trying to start a business. That isn't going to work. That isn't going to make you a successful person. So I actually need to change. And that was a huge turning point, was for where I actually got a head start. Anything
on yourself?
I think, you know, the first agency I had taught me a lot. Those were the most difficult times. You know, I went into that blindly, and I think most SEOs will be able to resonate. You know, you get good at SEO, you start making a few quid, you get more clients chapping at your door. Before you know it, you've got an office and you've got a fucking web developer or a copywriter or whatever it may be. That's certainly how it was for me. Didn't know the first thing about business, didn't even know about accountants, tax, you know, VAT, none of this shit, flat rate schemes, all the stuff of the day. And obviously building up that agency and trying to keep cash in the business, and all of these things were really, really difficult. You know, you earn a few quid and you want to spend it all, and you know, I think all of that kind of stuff was a massive apprenticeship for me, and it was difficult. Again, just because of my attitude, control freak, I wouldn't be told anything, I wouldn't listen to anyone. It was always going to be done my way or no way, and ultimately that led to failure, which was a sore one to take on the chin, but but again, it helps you go again and eradicate those mistakes. And I think that's the biggest lessons I could have ever learned, was from my own horrible attitude. So that was probably the most horrible sleepless nights.
Last question, and I'll answer it to start with, because this is to do with what the video is. What would you tell your 16-year-old self? So I'll quickly give my quick fire answer is to have the abundance mindset. Having that abundance mindset in your entrepreneurial journey allowed me to network with people like you, which has helped me to elevate to ridiculous goals that I could never even dream of. I wasn't brought up that way to be able to dream that big. It was like sometimes the stuff that you can earn now in a day was what you was thinking you'd earn in a year. Do you know what I mean? So like having that abundance mindset in helping others, but then obviously then having that network is your net worth, then that would be mine. But what would you tell your 16-year-old self if you could?
I think that, you know, the delegation, processes, scaling are all things that I wish I had done a lot quicker and understood a lot quicker. That would be the big thing. Don't be scared to spend money on these things. That again had the mindset of whatever comes in is going in my fucking back pocket, and nothing's getting back out, nothing's getting spent. So again, I think I would go back and just tell myself that, and I think I would get places a hell of a lot quicker than I did.
Working smarter, not harder.
Yeah.
I was brought up like, if you need to do a job right, do it yourself.
Yeah.
And I say it's the wrong answer. That's the wrong answer. That's how we was brought up.
Yeah.
Like, and it's like, actually, if you work smart and you can get someone to do it who's better than you at doing it, it also comes down the road of your employment. You want to try and employ people that are better than you, or set up a business partner. Everyone always talks about business partners. How do you choose your business partners? Pretty simple, mate. Whatever I'm weak at, I want to make sure my partner's good at that.
Yeah.
And then we complement each other. So that's kind of goes down the route of that. What's yours? What would you tell your 16-year-old self?
I tell myself to focus and go where the money is. At that time, I mean, I'd spent like weeks making a logo, or like designing I remember the first agency website I made. It was a beautiful website, like beautiful. But it took me like 4 months, and I made it myself. I could have got a guy in India to do it, you know, it's like ridiculous. And I just never like went and made money. I think a lot of people, they're so weak to just go and actually do the hard thing. Like, how do you make money in an agency? Like, go and speak to clients and get some flipping money. Like, if I'm starting today, I'd be going out and getting a client today. I wouldn't even have a website. I don't even need one.
Yeah.
Like, so I'd focus on one thing, and I would do it incredibly well. I wouldn't have 10 businesses in the go. I don't believe in that at all. I think you can achieve success in one thing and do it abundantly well in it. And I would just go after the money, and I wouldn't do all this nonsense.
Well, it's been an absolute pleasure. Gary, Craig.
Thanks for having us on, mate.
Yeah, no,
Appreciate
it's been
it.
good.
Yeah.
I enjoyed it.
It's about time.
Odds.